everyone, it's Heather Nichols, and today I have a calendar project to share with you. Our new 2023 calendar products are available now, and I'm going to show you a desktop calendar idea as well as a card idea using some of the products. I'll be using the new 2023 mini tear-off calendars. You get 10 mini tear-off calendars in one package so you can create all sorts of calendars to give away as gifts. I'll be displaying my calendar on the walnut wood clipboard stand. This is a beautiful wood stand and it has a clip at the top to hold everything in place. I'm using silver Deco foil to foil the calendar cards, which I'll share in just a little bit. I'm using the new mini tear-off calendar Stacklets die collection, and I'm using the largest frame from the Frame In Frame 2 cutting plate die. I'm using Toffee ink to do some stamping with the Diagonal Diamonds background stamp. I'm coloring with Copic Markers and adding shading with Prismacolor pencils blended with Gamsol. I'll add splatters with Copic Opaque white ink, chocolate truffle liquid watercolor, and a water brush. I don't show this in the video, but my cards are embellished with bits and pieces clear drip drops that I adhered with multi-medium matte. I used foam squares, and then the star of my project is the new Clipboard Calendar Cards in the Word. There are 12 cards in the set, and these are toner printed, so you can foil them if you would like, or you can just leave them the black and white or add color. There is a sweet and snarky version of the calendar card packs, and those are available in the Tailored Expressions web store if you want some more options. I'm starting off by foiling my calendar cards. I'll be using silver Deco foil with my Minc machine. I've got my machine set to a 5, which is the highest heat, and I find the best results with that setting. You're going to simply lay the foil on top of the cards, shiny side up, or as we say, pretty side up, and then I'm going to run that right through my Minc machine inside the carrier sheet. I repeated this process to foil all of the cards in the calendar card set. Now it's time to add color, and I colored my images with Copic markers, and then I added shading with Prismacolor pencils and blended with Gamsol. So what I mean by this is I lay down a solid base color with the Copic markers, and then I go back and I find colored pencils that are about a shade darker than what I colored. I'll add the shading, and then I use a paper stump that has Gamsol on it to blend out the colored pencil for the shading. I'm going to play some music and zoom you through the rest of my coloring. Next, I'm adding splatters to the cards, but I want to keep the splatters off of the sentiments. So I'm taking a small notepad and just tearing pieces to cover them up, and they don't have to be exact, just enough so that the splatters stay off of the areas that I don't want them to go. First, I'm doing splatters with chocolate truffle liquid watercolor. I've added a few drops to an acrylic block, and I'm picking that up with a water brush and tapping that brush over my finger to add the splatters to the cards. I did the same thing again to get white splatters on my cards using Copic Opaque white ink. Okay, now that all the cards are colored, I'm going to stamp a couple of backgrounds, one to use on the background of my calendar and one that I'm going to use on the background of my cards. I'm using the Diagonal Diamonds background stamp, and I'm stamping that with Toffee ink on Toffee cardstock. I'm getting this set up in my MISTI. I have some adhesive under the Toffee cardstock to hold it in place, and then I'll ink up that background stamp with Toffee ink and stamp that onto the Toffee cardstock. For the card backgrounds, I'm using the A2 size of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then for the calendar background, I'm using 4 inches by 5 1/2. I added splatters to the backgrounds just like I did to the cards using chocolate truffle liquid watercolor and Copic Opaque white ink. Next, I pulled my die cut machine out. I'm going to cut with the mini tear-off calendar Stacklets die collection. I'm going to use the 2 largest dies to frame the mini tear-off calendar. I'm going to cut one from sugar cube cardstock and the other from Toffee cardstock. For the card, I am cutting the largest frame from the Frame In Frame 2 cutting plate die. I'm cutting that out from sugar cube cardstock. Now it's time to put the calendar and card together. I'll start with the calendar. I'm using that 4" by 5.5" background, and I'm going to put the calendar card at the top of the background and the mini tear-off calendar at the bottom of the background. I'm using extra sticky tape to adhere the calendar to the mini tear-off calendar Stacklets die cuts, just so I know everything is going to stay on the calendar and not fall apart. Now you could make the card at the top of the calendar something that you can switch out by using a magnet or Velcro or just clipping the card to the top. For this calendar, I'm just picking one of the cards and permanently adhering it to the top of that panel. Once I've chosen the card that I'm going to use for this calendar, I'll make sure that everything is laid out the way I want it to and use sticky tape to adhere everything into place. I'll add the panel to the clipboard stand by using the clip at the top to clip the panel into place. To put the card together, I did trim just a little bit off the bottom edge of that panel just so I have a little white cardstock showing on the card base. So I'll take that frame from the frame and frame 2 cutting plate and I'll add adhesive to the back of that and add that to the stamped background. Then I'll add one of the calendar cards into the center of the frame and I'll pop that up with foam squares. I added the panel to a sugar cube card base, and then I actually did a few additional cards with some of the other calendar cards. I think that the desktop calendar along with a matching set of cards would be a really lovely gift. I hope you enjoyed learning how I made my calendar and matching cards, and I hope that you learned something new. You can find the supplies to create your own calendars in the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you next time.